Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sandbox Sunday. I'm here digitally with my friend and compatriot, Anil. Oh,
Hello.
Anil, who's massive now. Hello, Anil.
Oh, sorry. Right.
How are we
wow.
doing?
Okay. That went weird.
How are you?
There we go.
You all right?
Yeah, I'm having a few sound difficulties. One moment.
This is a bit experimental, by the way, chat, just to let you know. So, welcome, by the way, to Sandbox Sunday, where me and Anil were meant to do a stream together today. But unfortunately, a global pandemic got in the way and kept us apart. So now, we have found a way that we can stream together that isn't using Zoom for various reasons. But yeah, we've found a way. Much like life, we found a way. So here we are for you today. We're going to be talking about some gaming stuff, right, Anil?
Indeed we are.
Indeed we are. Indeed we are. We're going to be talking about game design. We're going to be talking about some of our favorite games. We're going to be talking about lots and lots of different things. All the cool stuff. Yeah, I know, those pesky pandemics. How dare they? It's good to have you all here today. We're very excited about this. Anil.
Yes.
How's the tea?
It's good, thank you. Honey and ginger and lemon. Thank you for asking.
In fact, sorry, hold on, I need to practice this. Sorry. Anil, how are you today?
I am very well. Oh,
good. I'm glad that you're very well. I am also well. Nailed it.
Nailed it. Don't profesh.
All right, okay, all right. So, like we're saying, so today we're going to be talking about games design, or at least that's the thrust of it anyway. So through the course of this, we want to get you guys involved too. Obviously, we have our specific topics that we wanted to sort of talk about. Like today, we wanted to talk a little bit about BioWare and the BioShock series, didn't we, Anil?
Yeah, but just generally, like anything that kind of takes our fancy on this, what has happened here, right?
Exactly. So we're just chatting today. We're just having a little chat with you guys along for the ride. I'm super excited. I know Anil's super excited as well.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just rearranging. See the chat without having to stop gazing at you, Mike.
Aw, mate. I'm going to try and set us up some nice chill wave music in the background as well. There we go. So we've got something to talk over.
Something that you don't have to keep hitting play on.
I mean, yes. That's exactly what I'm planning on doing. All right, cool. Well, Anil, why don't you kick us off then a little bit? So in terms of what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, so we've played a lot of games on stream already. Those of you who have been with us since the very beginning, wow, thank you so much. And earlier streams are now archived on our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/Rusty Quill. Playlists are there for your entertainment, and the geography quiz just went up yesterday, I believe.
It did.
So
it did. The geography quiz is now live. So you guys can now see how inept I am at geography in a major way.
Yeah, so we just thought we would kind of like take a few moments to look at introductory and tutorial mechanics, game design from that kind of perspective, and just go over what we have seen already, other games that we would just want to generally chat about, and then kind of like open it up to you guys to see, like, are there any thoughts that you have or any games that you want us to particularly look at, mainly from like an introductory perspective, but we'll probably end up rambling and probably waste 90 minutes just talking about like one game. And have to do this again.
Anil, just to check, have you got Comfort Hamid with you?
I do.
Because this is the first time that the 4 official members of the stream team can come together. Because I've got Derek here with me, and you've got Comfort Hamid. We've finally united all. Shall we boop?
They are.
We can boop. Here we go. You ready?
Yeah.
Coming over here, Anil. Just behind the chat. Other way.
Other way.
Yeah, that way. That's it. Yeah, the little kiss.
You'll have to tell me because I can't quite.
You smashed it. Yeah, there it is. You nailed it.
Wow, this whole this whole trying to watch things in a 20-second lag is really really disconcerting.
It is. It's probably quite difficult. So to be clear, chat, so we're actually streaming from my place today. My big old rig is running this stream, and Anil is dialing in from Rusty Studios Part 3.
We need a better naming convention.
I mean, I don't know. What do you want? Do you want to call it the stream studio?
We'll workshop it, Mike.
The Streamio.
The Streamio.
Yeah.
Answers on a postcard, if you want to. Or suggestions on a postcard, I guess, if we're going by Saturday morning television conventions.
Exactly. All right, okay. Well, let's kick this off then. Should we talk about some games?
So, what was the first game we looked at? We looked at FTL. And what, like, so you introduced us to this game. What are your, like, what thoughts do you have on its design as an introductory thing? Like, obviously we've talked a little about this in the actual streams itself, but now that we've had time to like reflect, to dwell on things.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question, to be honest with you. Like, personally, I mean, I'm a massive fan of the indie scene. I love indie games because I find whenever I've spoken to indie developers, they're just really fun people to be around. Like when I was out in Germany, over at Gamescom, that was like, I immediately went to the indie stages just because like that's where all the cool people are. And I like the idea that an indie studio could develop such a nice, what I would say is it's a game that knows exactly what it is, and it's executed unbelievably well. That's in my opinion. Like, it knows that it's a roguelike. It gives you that as a convention. You know from the point that you start that you need to get from point A to point B, and on the way you may die and have to start all over again. Like, you know all of that. And the way that they've built in, like, luck, and the way that they've built in the weapons, so it's very well balanced in terms of, like, even when they released the DLC for it, because what I tend to find is that with some DLC, it can overpower certain bits of like the new stuff that they've brought in, so it's not as well balanced. Cough, Skyrim's cough. And so because of that, like sometimes you get these weird things that happen where the DLC stuff is just like so much better than the other stuff. But FTL, I mean, they've really hit the nail on the head. The graphic style of it as well, super simple, or it looks super simple, but it's so clean and so effective. Genuinely, I love it. I really love that game. But I mean, cards on the table, my bias is that I love that kind of game and I love that style of art as well. I mean, I don't know what you think about this, Anil.
No, I agree with you. In terms of general design, in terms of its game mechanics, I think it's unbelievably clean for the kind of game that it is. Obviously, there's a lot going on screen, particularly when you're in combat.
Yes.
Your focus is pulled to different parts of the screen, and you do have to track a fair bit of things, but no more so than you would in any other like simulation game, really, I think. And I think they've done their best to make it as uncluttered and as straightforward as they can. And the only thing I would potentially like from that is more tooltips, kind of like more intuitive, like hoverovers, particularly when you're looking at like shields and things like that, and just a little bit more focus on like, if you need more info, go here. But to be honest, like that is something that I commonly want with most games. It's not an FTL specific.
I mean, valid. I mean, that's very, very valid. Also, thank you very much, 14 Cookies Gone, for the tier 1 gift sub. That's very kind. Introducing someone new to the channel. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that you're right. There's a lot of information on screen, but I find that the way that they've gotten around that using the pause mechanic actually is very, very helpful. Because as we were saying when we were playing it, it allows you to sort of stop take that time and play it as a strategy game as opposed to like an out-and-out shooter. You know, you don't have to have that level of tension. But I do totally agree with you that one of the things that it could do with is better tooltips, because at the moment when you wave over things, it's sort of slightly unclear about what you need to do. There is a tutorial. We didn't go through the tutorial when we were playing it. However, I think that if they added in like some little bits, like you say, just like, you know, when you click on someone, just knowing that that person has a proficiency in piloting, or that person has a proficiency in weapon systems, then that would be really good instead of going through the list on the side.
Yeah. Obviously, these are things which come with practice. This is a kind of knowledge that you build up as you play the game, and obviously, and the game is designed for you to actually gather that knowledge, because it's a roguelike. You will end up doing multiple playthroughs, and as you do so, it reinforces your knowledge, which is something that I really like from these kind of games. Like I said in the FTL 3, I'm not a roguelike or a roguelite fan normally.
No, you're just a dashing rogue, Anil.
My D&D characters probably wouldn't wouldn't uphold that, but thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Gosh, you compliments make me lose my train of thought.
I'm sorry, mate. I'm sorry. Oh boy, I'll shush.
Where was I? So yes, this is not a genre. This is not a genre game that like I came into being a particular fan of or knowing particularly well. So the fact that it does do that thing in making sure that you are aware of where things are, but also reinforcing the knowledge that you gain from every subsequent run. So by the time that you are playing it for, say, the 10th, the 15th time through, you will have internalized both like the memory, the muscle memory for keyboard shortcuts, because you will want to learn things a little bit faster each time, and you will want to know where things are in terms of, right, I need that information. That's the information I need. I will remember where that is. I will remember that particular information. Oh gosh, I've just seen something in chat.
You mean this chat?
Yes. This chat.
Oh, hello, chat. Yeah, it's good to see you. It's nice to have you with us as well on this journey.
But actually, that point about pausing is a really good thing, because that makes me jump. That gave me a jumping off point.
Yeah.
So pause mechanics in strategy games, really, really good idea. Thank you very much.
Final Fantasy.
Well, I don't know if it. I mean, when was Final Fantasy released?
The original the Final Fantasy.
I'm not familiar with the final. Like, for my eternal shame, I am not familiar with the fantasy franchise outside of general pop culture.
Mate, that's fine. That's fine. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm not a big Final Fantasy game either. Yes, actually,
everyone is saying 1996.
It was the hit 1996 title, Final Fantasy 1_ The Final Fantasy. Yeah.
Sorry, was it really 1996?
No, it wasn't 1996.
No. Mike.
What? No, that's what the chat said.
I know. I should have. You said it with such conviction, though.
I always say everything with such conviction.
1987. Okay.
Yeah, the first one was made. I'm not googling it. The first one was made in 1987.
Yeah, he asked what I loved. What
the furniture
I wanted
gift.
to do in the furniture. I wanted to do
in the future.
future.
Future, not furniture. Oh, is that playing? Okay, because I can't hear the stream. So
oh, sorry, I'm just gonna break down. It's fine. You carry on.
So actually, I mean, did Final Fantasy did the first Final Fantasy have a pause mechanic, or was it turn-based combat?
It's turn-based combat. So
right.
I think all of the Final Fantasies had turn-based combat. Because as far as I'm aware, I mean, I could be wrong here, citation needed, but they were one of the original games to sort of pioneer this approach to gaming, right? That's why it became so popular, along with the storylines and everything.
All of the FF are turn-based. Okay. But where I was going with pause mechanics, because anything which is running on a specific timeline and like has a specific in-game counter or in-game timer really benefits from a pause mechanic like that, so that you have time, particularly if you are a beginner, to get to grips with things. And that's why I really like when strategy games, particularly like the big grand builders that say Paradox games are well known for. So for those who are not familiar, Paradox is a Swedish games company. They're both a developer and a publisher.
I believe so. Yeah, Paradox Interactive, right? They're the guys you're talking about.
Yeah. I know they do, like, a lot of the games they are just a publisher for, they're not the developer for, but they do development as well, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
So we're talking about games like Stellaris, we're talking about Europa Universalis.
Did you play Stellaris?
I haven't played it on stream yet. It is on my to-do list, and one of the things that is particularly relevant here is games that operate on a grand time frame do definitely require a pause button to help you get to grips with this learning. Any which don't, I'm sorry, you are probably off my list. But
By the way, Charlie Fitz, thank you very much for the sub. It's good to have you here.
Cheers, Charlie. You need that time to get to grips with things, and the ability to slow or speed up or speed down the time counter depending on how complicated turns are taking, and that. So whilst Civilization and such didn't start off in that way, they've got very much right. Yes, we are operating on a grand time frame. Time will progress, but you have got you can do everything you want, end the turn, next turn doesn't begin until you have very definitively moved on.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the things, actually, that I really enjoy about playing in city-building games. Like, another Paradox title is City Skylines.
Yes.
And I think that having that pause mechanic just makes the game so much easier to manage. Like, can you imagine playing something like Sim City, but without being able to pause the game ever? Like, that would be the most hectic experience that you've ever had. Like, trying to stop traffic problems in real time by destroying roads. Like, that would just be, that'd be unmanageable.
I'm trying to remember if that was the case in very first Sim City.
I don't know.
This is so long ago. Yeah,
that actually came out in 1996 as well. Maybe.
Look, we talked about this in the very first stream. Not 96. Yes, it had pause. Okay, thanks for. See, this is like going way back.
SimCity 2000 came out in 1996. Really?
But yeah, I'm fairly sure, and again, citation needed, that there are probably games of this type which don't have those mechanics, and thus become difficult for new people to get into, because if you cannot just stop and take a moment, you will end up like feeling really, really lost.
Yeah, totally.
And I wonder if this is also partly why there are certain like roguelikes and such that I don't like, because it doesn't give you a time to pause.
Yeah. Oh god, yeah.
Unless you can find a safe space to park your character, to park your sprite.
What is this timeline? Sorry.
You get-
So, SimCity 2000 came out in 1993, according to Wikipedia. SimCity
No,
3000, according to this timeline, came out in 1999.
that's not right.
SimCity 64 came out in 2000. What is this? Is fake news? Surely this is fake news.
Like I know that SimCity did not come out in '93.
Surely not. By the way, thanks. Are you here for the 100 bits? I appreciate that. Anyway,
I know because I was desperately waiting for them to come out, and it was one of the very first games I owned on CD-ROM.
nice. Oh, nice.
Yes, citation needed, not citations. Jory.
Is that how you say that name?
Yes, I like citations.
I like cetaceans.
Not I like citations or anything similar, Mike.
This whole time. Oh my lord. Oh god. Right. Okay.
So where was I going with it? No, it was one of the first games I owned on CD. So I'm pretty certain it is not 1993. Anyway, I don't know if it's deploy the big one. It's probably a deploy the small one. No.
These guys, the chat, have been waiting for this for a very long time.
So
I'm sorry, everyone. The big one has been deployed.
And this is also why things like war are often called bullet hells. So we're talking about games like Enter the Gungeon.
Yes. And that game that I
Super-
used to play on the SNES. That one.
Which one?
I can't remember. I've never remembered what it was called, but I had a bullet hell game. It took me nearly 6 months to complete for the first time, because every time you turn the console off, you had to start again from the beginning.
Oh no.
Yeah. Can you imagine doing a bullet hell game over and over again until you finish it? Like, it genuinely, it must have come out in late 90s, early 2000s, I
Right,
think.
okay.
Because
Oh,
I
hey,
would have
Frank.
been, that would put me around for 11, 12. No, actually, maybe earlier than that then, because I remember having my SNES for years.
Turrican, Dratcup says.
Hurricane?
Turrican.
Turrican. I'm Googling it.
Thank you very much. Hey, somebody, I missed that. Actually. Sorry. There was 69 bits from, I think it was 14 Cookies Gone. Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
And Moliatsu.
And welcome to the chat, Frank. I hope the game ended well. Unfortunately, the interview with Alex and Johnny started, so I wasn't able to finish watching.
I like
finish watching that.
I can do this. I like.
I believe in you, Mike. Go on.
I want to say citations, but I can't.
No.
We said it.
Thank you for the 69 bits. I like cetaceans.
Cetaceans. Thank you for the 69 bits. Nice. I appreciate it. Oh Lord. Oh Lord, he coming.
Anyway, so those I wonder if that contributes to why I can't get to grips with it, because it's not only is it a sensory overload issue, which is why I have trouble with things like Overwatch and or at least watching Overwatch, watching a lot of first-person games in that respect, and things like WoW raids.
Yes.
There's just I know that I generally like too much. I get sensory overload from that sort of thing. But the fact that, like I say, going back to Enter the Gungeon, the fact that you just can't pause, that you just have to keep going on. What's the other one? Guy Kelly played some of this when he
The Binding of Isaac.
Looking into Atomic.
Turok.
No, Atomic.
That's a very different game.
No, Turok is a very different game. atomic something.
Oh my god! While you're thinking, this is it. It
Or
wasn't the one that
nuclear-
you said, Dra. It was Space Megaforce.
Oh wow!
That's what it was. It was Space Megaforce because I recognised the cover art. The cover art.
Yes, Nuclear Throne. Thank you, Aida Snake. That's it. Nuclear Throne, which kind of puts a Wild Western spin on a bullet hell, which looked really interesting. But no way could I play that.
No, for sure. I mean, I haven't played it, but I know what you've been telling me about the games that you enjoy and the games that you like to play, and that kind of whole genre is so far outside of what you've described to me.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, on that note, have you played Enter the Gungeon?
No, I haven't actually. Enter the Gungeon totally passed me by, and it's not through any active decision making either. It's not through any active choice. Like, genuinely, I just never played it. Like, my mates did. My mates played Enter the Gungeon, and I was told it's an all right game. But to be honest with you, Anil, it's not my cup of tea either.
Okay,
like,
cool.
Yeah.
If folks are interested in, there is a streamer called RayFK, Jordan. He a Seattle-based streamer. He is very much into that game and periodically streams it. So that may be something. Like, I've watched it on his channel and thought, in a different world or under different circumstances, if this was slowed down to the point where it was effectively an art, I would probably like this. Quick question before it scrolls out from Ferry's Laura. My fiance wants to know if you'll ever play Minecraft, Rocket League, stroke anything VR, because he'd like to watch it. So,
Anil, they found our secret plans. Someone's hacked our super secret plans.
So, little bit of spoiler here. Minecraft is very definitely on the cards, and fairly soon.
Anil!
What?
Be careful, Anil! You're giving them all the secrets!
No, I think it's fair to say Minecraft will be fairly soon on the agenda because of other secrets. Rocket League? I don't know. Thoughts on Rocket League?
I like Rocket League. I'll be honest with you, I've played it like twice. Actually, fun fact, chat, I played Rocket League on the first ever Gaming and Giving live stream, the 24-hour one. I played it on there, and I had a lot of fun. Like, it's a bit chaotic, but to be honest with you, like, it's ridiculous, but it's so much fun. And I would play it. Like, I played War Thunder the other day. Thank you very much, Molietsu, for the community sub. That's lovely. I think we could do it. But the thing about playing Rocket League... Well, no, hold on, because, oh my lord, that's a lot of gift subbing. Thank you very much. Jeez, I've just seen how many there are. So one thing about playing Rocket League, Anil, is I want you to play with me.
Yes. I would be up for that would be a good. Actually, I think that would be a really good look at sports games in general.
Yeah, because we're not playing FIFA,
right? You cut out there. Wow. Okay, I did not quite hear what you said there.
I didn't say anything. I said because we're probably not going to play FIFA, right?
Well, I'm not.
I mean, I'm terrible at FIFA.
I don't know if you want to showcase something like FIFA or I don't know. No. Actually, I could probably get we. No. Does Madden do any of like the EA games exist on Steam? They don't, do they? They're all console based, aren't they?
Some of them do. Like for example, well, I mean, a lot of them are on Origin because Origin is EA's own platform. So, like,
because. One of the things is like...
you want to play Madden NFL?
No, but Bryn might.
That's true. Well, Bryn flipping loves Madden. Well, he flipping loves the NFL, doesn't he? So I think he'd be well up for that.
From not bound please do not make me watch FIFA.
I honestly, look, if you can take anything away from this channel, it's this, right? I don't play sport. Like, really. And frankly, I play FIFA with my mates, but I don't necessarily enjoy playing FIFA. Like, honestly, truly. And it's not because it's a bad game, and it's not because of any other reason other than it's not my cup of tea. That's it. I just don't enjoy it. So chances are there won't be sports-based games on this channel, unless it's NBA Jam or Tony Hawk's Pro Skater.
Well, at least you're probably not going to see the traditional sports games on this channel.
Rocket League, yes.
Rocket League,
Overwatch, probably.
Yeah, well, esports is a different kettle of fish.
War Thunder, that's a sport.
I'm not sure if running tanks in planes into each other is sports.
No, I mean, it depends on the sport. Possibly Blood Bowl.
Yes, Blood Bowl is a potential. The thing with Blood Bowl, Blood Bowl 2 it would be, because that's the one I own. The tutorial for Blood Bowl 2 is a bit weird. Al keeps cutting out for me occasionally. I think that's a downside to the channel we are using.
Yeah, it's unfortunately that's going to happen, I'm afraid, because it's literally just because we're having to stream online. So Anil or I may cut in and out every now and again, unfortunately.
Yeah,
you'll have to bear with us on that one.
We unfortunately the means that we wanted to use for this is not currently available, so we are having to do a little bit of a bodge job.
It is what it is, but yeah, coming back to the sports stuff.
Yes, coming back around to sports. Blood Bowl 2, I would like to be able to show off. I just need to work out how to do so, because I can't. It isn't feasible for me to demonstrate the tutorial campaign in that. So I think I need to be a bit better at it in order to be able to explain it to people.
You're saying you need to get good.
I need to get good. Yes.
Anil. Anil. No, you can do it anyway. I mean, you've seen me playing games.
I know, but that is actually a really good segue for us to talk about a different style of game design, because that leads us into Souls-like into Souls-like games. Yes, because for those who may not be familiar, Get Good is a gamer meme, and it originated from, I mean, was it Dark Souls itself? But like
it wasn't necessarily. It was just an online. Yeah,
it's been particularly associated with like the TeamSpeak and chat for Souls-like games, like so Bloodborne, Dark Souls,
all those other ridiculously hard games.
Yes, but here's a game mechanic we should probably venture some thoughts on: game difficulty.
Yes, that's very true. Do you want to kick off, or do you want me to go over this one?
Why don't you? Because you are more.
You totally cut out then, I'm afraid, mate. I didn't hear a word you said.
I said, please elucidate. You are more with Souls than I am, I reckon.
Well, I mean, I played Dark Souls. In fact, no, I didn't play Dark Souls, sorry. I played Bloodborne once, and it was only very brief. Like, I didn't really do anything because actually... In fact, no. I didn't even play it. I saw it as a demonstration of art style and mechanics in gaming at the V&A Museum when they were, which is in London, when they were doing their thing about gaming. They had a big gaming exhibition on, and I saw it there. And Dark Souls, I took one look at Dark Souls, and to be honest with you, I was like, probably no. So because I don't enjoy games that punish you. I'm not in a game to be punished for whatever it is that I'm doing. I'm there to enjoy the experience. That's why I don't engage with it. difficulty in a game is a tricky thing. Because you want to make a game that's not so easy that someone can absolutely fire through it and it's boring, but at the same time not so hard that it's just impossible to complete. Like, there are games that are very hard. Like, for example, The Binding of Isaac. Like, for example, Bloodborne, Dark Souls. These are traditionally very difficult games. Like, they're the ones that people would probably point you towards if you want a challenge. However, throughout most games, because I'm mostly an RPG gamer, like, through most games, you get scaling of difficulty, which goes from an easy mode, or whatever it is, up to a very, very hard mode. So, I mean, unfortunately, a lot of the very, very hard modes, like in Wolfenstein, for example, the new Colossus, go from, oh my god, what's it called? I can't remember, but it's basically... I've got to look this up. It goes from a very, very easy mode where the enemies are scaled down in terms of their damage output, and your armor is scaled way up. And the idea being that... I can't type and talk at the same time. It's awful. The idea being that it gives gamers who want to experience the story...
Yes.
chance to actually experience the story without being challenged too much. Can I play, Daddy? That's the first difficulty on Wolfenstein, all the way up to I am Death Incarnate and mein Leben, which is they're the maximum difficulties. Yeah, I know.
Okay.
There's a lot. But Wolfenstein leans into that because it's a game that's predominantly about killing Nazis. That's basically what it is. But the concept of the difficulty ramp was to give gamers a different experience. Never would I want to hear Mike say "Daddy" again. Unfortunately, you just heard it again, Frank. Also, there's another difficulty level, which is I'm gonna be your daddy, but that's not in Wolfenstein. So,
to be fair, I'm with Frank, just having heard you say that.
Perfect. So, in terms of... But my point was, cycling back, the point was that ultimately, difficulty is about giving gamers a different experience, or at least that's the way that I've seen it. All the way from... I want to understand what this game is about, and I don't want to be challenged in terms of, like, difficulty of enemies. I don't want it to be hard to progress through levels. I just want to experience the game. Up to, I want all of the enemies to be very difficult so that I can show that I have the skills to be able to get through this game. That's...
And no shade on anybody who wants either end of the spectrum or want somewhere in the middle. Like,
no, absolutely.
Different people want different challenges out of the games they play. A game that is able to provide you with a scaled system of doing so, I think is really good, particularly for people who want to get introduced to these kind of games. But also being very clear, and games making it clear that where an experience is definitely aimed at the more difficult end of the spectrum, and not passing this off as a value thing. You need to be good to play this game. You need to be high skill to play this game, because as soon as you start adding value judgments into that, either in the marketing or in the actual game mechanics, that's where kind of like trouble lies, at least for me. And something like coming update Sekiro.
Oh my dear sack.
A game I will not. Did it just trigger again?
Sorry.
Sekiro is a game I am not going to, but that's because I know very clearly that it is at the upper end of the spectrum difficulty-wise, and is designed for it to be a significant challenge that you have to throw yourself against repeatedly until you learn the mechanics and have the muscle memory to be able to push through it.
I did it. Yeah, exactly. Speaking of pushing through it, I did it. Yeah, exactly. I agree with you. And I mean, going outside of that genre as well, like, it doesn't necessarily just appeal to RPG gamers or fantasy games or anything like that. It appeals to, it's in everything. There are certain games, actually, and games that I quite enjoy are the ones that don't actually overtly give you the difficulty. What they do is, in the background, there'll be an algorithm or a piece of code running that monitors how well you're doing in the game and very subtly tweaks it so that that thing that's very difficult for you to get past the first time you do it, it will learn that you are, well, I say learn in the loosest sense of the term. It's not necessarily AI, but it will learn that you can't get past that right now. And if you keep butting up against this, it will tweak the difficulty for that bit so that it then becomes easier to get past that and you can progress in the story, then brings the difficulty back up again.
That's neat.
Is good game design. Skyrim does that.
Yeah.
Skyrim does
that
to a lesser or greater extent. Yeah, Skyrim sits in the background a little bit and will tweak the difficulty for you if it feels that a thing is too challenging. I don't know if games like Mass Effect do that as well. I can't think of a list off the top of my head, unfortunately, but a few games do this, and I personally really enjoy it, because as a gamer, this is just personal experience. So, for example, I like to sit in the middle difficulties. I like enemies to be challenging enough that you can feel it's hard to progress unless you do certain things right, but I don't want levels to be a walkover, because then I lose interest. So I like games that very subtly tweak the difficulty for you so that things become more challenging and then scale back when it's too much of a challenge, because it means me, as a gamer, I don't have to actively change whatever's going on. I can just carry on with whatever it is that I'm doing because I have pride.
Yeah, and you don't... Well, I was going to phrase that as you don't potentially have the dissatisfaction or any of the general societal stigma that may be internalized with regards to, I have to step back and make this easier in order to progress.
Yeah, because you lose the momentum, you lose the immersion. You know, VR games, for example, are all about immersion. And if at any point, let's stick with Skyrim, right? Skyrim VR. So if at any point you have to stop playing the game and go into a menu, it totally breaks the immersion of the game. I realise that there's an inventory system and all that sort of stuff. I don't even know how you say that. Inventory? I don't know. Anyway, so even though you have those systems, if I have to go into a game settings menu, I'm out. Like, at that point, like, it just pulls you out of the game, and all of that atmosphere that's built up is gone. Remember Soma? As well. I don't know if that has difficulty ramping, but the moment that you go into a menu, that atmosphere, that beautiful atmosphere that the game builds up, gone in a flash, and you're back to square one. Like, it's really interesting difficulty as a concept. It's really interesting.
I mean, and obviously there's a lot more that more learned folks have talked about difficulty and difficulty scaling about online, but we've probably covered what we want to say on that front. Obviously, as and when we have other thoughts, we will probably elucidate them in streams.
Most likely.
What else? In terms of like broad game mechanics, I say this is basically just a chat for a jump over. Oh, save points. That was what I was thinking about. Weirdly enough, save point mechanics, because often this actually ties into difficulty as to where and how and when you can save your progress. You talked about bullet hells and such, where if you turned off the console, bang, that's all your progress done.
Exactly.
You cannot. And obviously, this was very common in the early days of console gaming when when memory is at a premium, and there's very little room on cartridge or even in consoles for for the technology to write to disk or write to the cartridge.
I was going to say, the Sega Mega Drive and the SNES, I don't think either of them had
a hard
saving.
drive or anything.
No, because everything was on the cartridge. Everything was on the cartridge. And so, because of that, the hardware that you were running was literally just there to run the game. Like, there was no write memory. That just wasn't a thing. Like, one of the first consoles to introduce that was either the Dreamcast, I think, or it would have been the GameCube or the PS1. Not the PS1, the PlayStation, the one that came before the PS1. It was either one of those. But yeah, as you were saying, Anil.
Yeah. Actually, Zalia brings up checkpoint only save. So you have...
I'll just bin them. Just bin it. Just chuck it. If you've got a checkpoint only, just bin it right now. Just chuck it.
Yes, particularly in terms of modern games. I think the days of you pushing through difficulties to get to a save point that is only checkpoint based, with exception.
Yes. All
because,
right. Okay. Fine.
No, because the current design sensibility towards checkpoint based saves is a step advance from where they were up, and particularly in terms of console gaming. So you will often find checkpoint based saves, and what we mean here, for anyone who isn't familiar with the terminology, is you cannot save unless you pass a certain point on a level, or in some respects you have to go to a very specific place in a room or a point on the level for you to be able to save. You cannot save outside of those areas, and the game doesn't save. And Plum 177 brings up exactly the game that I was going to talk about with regards to this.
Yeah,
in terms of
with the right answer.
Room-based saves, is the Resident Evil series. Famous for it. I am very glad now that they do. Actually, no, they've always done room-based saves. So you have to go. And it's also where you can where you've got your inventory, because you've got chests and things like that. And actually, that series of games, the checkpoint-based save works really well because it helps build up atmosphere.
Yes.
It works within the game's narrative and aesthetic to be appropriate. As frustrating as it is, because especially if you haven't got the map for the level, or you're still hunting around for it and being chased down by a zombie.
I know. Can I rant? Just for a second?
Yes, you can. Yes.
Final Fantasy X, people. Oh my lord. The only thing, in my opinion, that game needed is the opportunity to save at more points than just at those glowing orbs. I mean, Jesus, the amount of times that I died and then had to go all the way back because I'd forgotten to save at a specific fucking orb, that was just... I was mind-numbingly dull, and then having to go back through everything again, step by step, and because it's a luck-based system in terms of the loot that you get, like, you might lose some of the loot that you got, and then you have to go back and try and find it again. Yeah. So in that kind of a game, I absolutely agree. It was probably the right decision on the devs' behalf to make a point-based saving system rather than save wherever you want to. But at the same time, I hated it, and I think they should change it.
And that's fair. And like, these are the sorts of things that will divide people a lot. So you will also find these systems in Metroidvania games.
Yes.
So like platformers that are like the modern style of platformer that is based off a game called Castlevania, where you are progressing through a level, but it's again very in very specific locations where you activate a save point, and then that saves you progress, and you're able to kill. If I remember correctly, Hollow Knight has this, and that is a very, very well acclaimed game.
Yes, I never played it, but yeah.
Ori and the Blind Forest. Again, all these games that kind of like work off that, and they generally work because they're appropriate to the difficulty of the game that has been presented.
Yeah.
But obviously, in things like RPGs and such, I do prefer like user-based saving options, just because it feels more comfortable for me. And games that don't do that, I tend to get a little bit anxious if I've done a lot of progress. It's like, where's the next save point? Where's the next save point?
I mean, to just at that point, Nuntingale, I saw that you asked a question, and I'm definitely going to come back to that one. Just to let you know, I saw it. I've got it saved in my notepad here, so we're going to come back to that.
I won't. I'll...
Blimey. So that's fine. But yeah, I agree with you, because I actually have that same anxiety, Anil, which is like, but when can I save again? But when can I save? The counter argument to this, though, is that there are some people who feel that a save point wherever you want to actually ruins the game, because it means that you can do something that we've talked about before on this channel called saver scum, which is where you can save at a specific point and then go back and do that bit again and again and again and again until you get the outcome that you want. I mean, what do you reckon to that?
I don't like the term save scum or save scumming, because I think it puts too negative a spin on a valid mechanic, particularly for those, particularly for people who either want to. Sorry, I'm just trying to reformulate my thoughts. So, folks who want to go for perfection, who want to go for the 100%, and want to be able to, who want to be able to know that they have done something to their mind perfectly. I think that is a perfectly valid tactic. I think that is a very perfect. Sorry, perfect is the wrong word. I think that is a very appropriate use of that system. I also think that it's that for folks who don't want to have to backtrack through a lot of progression, particularly if all you have been doing is going through, like, wading through corridors of mooks and gunning them down, that will be just frustrating to repeat.
Yeah, 100%.
In those instances, I think the save and reload mechanic is perfectly fine to see. Where I can see that, where I can see the argument is in terms of immersion and breaking of flow, and whether or not it is too challenging. But again, people who say that this is like, oh, it's not challenging if you can do that. Again, we're coming back to issues of difficulty gatekeeping, which is not something that I want any part of.
Yeah, I get you.
As Fear1996 says, nice username. Games are meant to be fun. So if going back to certain sports was something why not?
Exactly. I mean, to be honest with you, Anil, cards on the table, right? I'm a completionist. Mm-hmm. Like, I love to 100% things. Unfortunately, I don't have the time right now to be able to be the completionist self that I know that I am. But I love doing everything. And so having that ability to be able to save where you are right now, so that you know that you can do the bit that you need to do and then move on, whatever that may be, whether it's grinding mobs, which is where you stay in one place and you kill the same mob or the same creature over and over again, or NPC or whatever, so that you can get what you want, or whether that's like doing a specific task that you know you need to be in that place for. And then if you cock it up or if you do something wrong, then you can just go back and you can try again. I would never see... I am with you, actually. Cards on the table again. I hate the term save as scum because that's basically, before that became a term, that was just how I played games.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as...
We played a lot of games like that.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. As soon as single point saving came in, like, I that was like my golden ticket. I was like, finally, there's actually a way that I can save my stuff where I am and then carry on. I wouldn't be able to play the Outer Worlds without it, that's for sure. Like, you know, it's one of those things that I really appreciate in a game.
Well, like, obviously, as Mini Manta said, like, games outside of Earth are so different in the sense that people want to do all sorts of different things. And this is where, as in games that you're playing with actual people, communication comes in. It's like, make sure that the information about your game is accessible and available, so that people aren't going in blind. And particularly when you're talking about AAA games that are costing $60 a pop, you need to make it clear what sort of game people are buying, because going in blind to something like that, and obviously it's a lot easier to not go in blind these days. But just making sure that what you are buying and what you are buying into is the kind of game that you want to play. And developers and publishers make sure that this information is available to your audience.
Just while it's on screen, LX Lilby, timed missions. I get you. I get you so much. That is such a good point. I sometimes hate timed missions. Like, it's so much pressure. So I've been playing Death Stranding recently, and a lot of those missions that you have to do, timed missions, the water temple, oh my lord. Like, all of these things, just, saving where you are. Ugh.
Yeah, like...
Man, it's a lifesaver.
I mean, blanket statement, time missions are the worst. Probably not. Like, again, in
Stream stamp of thing.
In context, they may work for the game, and a lot of what we're caveated by the fact that they may work for the game, and a lot of these things, thought and time has been taken by the developer to make sure that the mechanics are appropriate for the environment and the field that they are going for. Where these thoughts have not taken place, and where developers have just randomly stuck in a timed mission, an escort quest.
Escort quest.
All
of my triggers.
I will personally say I hate escort quests.
Why do they walk so slowly? Why are you just faster than them with your normal walking speed?
And here's the thing, like, obviously, from what I am aware of, Guild Wars 2 is a much better game than Guild Wars. So I started playing Guild Wars with some friends because at the time we got a little bit bored of World of Warcraft and wanted to try something else. There was a mandatory escort quest relatively early on in Guild Wars that I ran into, and it was like, no, don't like this. This is just too awkward. I noped out of Guild Wars completely, and obviously that then coloured me for Guild Wars 2. But I have heard that Guild Wars 2 is a lot better in terms of the and I still get frustrated in World of Warcraft because that is an MMO that I still play when there are escort quests. Particularly because I am a solo player.
Just
escort quest when you've got multiple when you've got a party of people to help you, they become a lot easier, of course. But trying to do escort quests solo is which is why I'm often very reticent of dungeons and things like that.
Stop it. Just stop the escort quest. Just stop it. Games developers, just stop it. Make them walk give them a car. Just give them anything. Put them, strap them to some kind of trolley. Strap them down so that you can run on anything. It doesn't matter. As long as it's movable.
Generates a different kind of trolley problem. I like suggestions. Just to be clear, they are like after a certain point, they are few and far between, but they do still exist. And I'd say in earlier content, they are there, and it is somewhat frustrating. Thankfully, most of them are not mandatory. You can opt to avoid them or skip them. Where they are part of like profession quest lines, that's when I get irritated.
Right. On that note, I think
let's circle back around to the question we were...
Yeah, so Nuntingale asked, I'll let you field this one first, Anil. Nuntingale asked, in regards to maintaining interest, how do you guys feel about in-game cutscenes? Because I'm going to go on a Metal Gear rant. Benefits versus detriments. A game like The Order 1886, for example, versus other games with more subtle cutscene mechanics.
Right.
Unless you want me to go first, it's up to you.
No. I mean, depends on how ranty you get.
I mean, it's gonna be a little rant because I'm a Metal Gear Solid fan. Remember?
Okay, cool. I'll go first then. I think that cutscenes have their place. I often, because they provide reasonable bits of lore that would be too problematic or too difficult to gain through gameplay. I think that they provide a useful break point, particularly at the end of difficult missions or particularly hard sections of a game, for you to just take a rest, for you to rest your hand, and then and allow you to progress. All of this is obviously caveated by the fact that, provided they are appropriate for the game, provided that you are not immersion breaking for your game environment or the narrative. I'm generally in favor of them where appropriate. And weirdly enough, one of the very first ones where I came was not necessarily like the CGI cutscenes that we are familiar with. And obviously, we go back all the way. I mean, like Mario, like Super Mario World and Mario Brothers and such. Technically, they all have like cutscenes and things at the end of games, like games where you wander into the castle, you'll get told your princess is in a different castle and things like that. These are all like cutscenes and such that like both advance the story and provide you with the rest. The one where I was particularly enamored of this was when I was playing Dune 2. Now, Dune 2 didn't have cuts. Yeah. Dune 2 didn't have cutscenes in the sense of you got a CGI interlude. What it had was FMV. It had full motion video cutscenes that were filmed with real actors playing the different mentats, and I thought that was wonderful. And they would like between each mission or something like that. So if you were playing House Harkonnen, you got an actor playing Peter de Vries as your mentat, giving you info between missions, which I really liked. Telltale games are basically all cutscenes. Telltale games and games of that nature are a different beast, I would say.
That was a very subtle but very clever pun, Anil. That was a Wolf Among Us reference, and you know that it was.
It might have been. But yes, so before I go off on too much of a rant and ramble about it, I think cutscenes and such have their place. Where they immersion break or where they throw irrelevant stuff at you, that's when I might have
Anil.
So
Anil.
Mike.
Night Trap is available on Switch right now.
What's Night Trap?
Night Trap was one of the... It was a video game from, like, the 80s that was FMV, but the whole game was video. The whole game.
Ooh.
So you got to control the actions of real people in real time. Like, I never played it, obviously, because this was before my time. But just, if you don't know what it is, just Google it. Just have a look at the videos. It's hilarious, but it was deemed so, what was it? It wasn't
That must have
violent.
been revolutionary.
But, like, no, it went through the US justice system because this was one of the games, along with multiple others that came out later, where they decided that games were too violent.
Oh,
so they tried to ban it.
This is one of the ones that did that. Okay.
Yeah, good old Night Trap. Oh, boy. But yeah.
I'll have to look that up. Like, I didn't know that was one of the precursors for that. Because that was the case that Janet Reno was involved in.
Probably. But yeah, it's one of those things. So just
your
to let you know.
And cutscenes, and how these relate to Metal Gear Solid.
All right, strap in, chat. So basically, the whole Kojima franchise is founded on the games aren't really games. They're essentially just a vehicle so that you can watch a story unfold. Pick any of the Metal Gears, any of them. Like, all of them are more video and more cutscene than they are game. I don't know what the actual percentage difference is between those two things, but I would bet my bottom dollar that it's like 52% video versus 50% actual gameplay. Like, the only reason why Death Stranding isn't that is because you have so far to walk between places where you need to deliver stuff so that you can watch the cutscene that gives you the information. Then you have to sit on a hologram phone call for like 20 minutes while someone in a mask explains stuff to you. Then there's a cutscene after that, and all of it is just ridiculous.
So yes, excessive use does have an issue, and where you are. I mean,
but hold on. I haven't got to the best bit yet. So the best bit, right, for me was Metal Gear Solid 3. And I don't know if you played this game, Anil, but that is my, if not my favorite, it's right up there, Metal Gear Solid title. So basically what they did, chat, was they realized, I think, that most of their games were basically just cutscenes, right? So what they did was they turned the introduction into a Bond-style intro with full music score and all of the graphics, and they played it out as a James Bond style. I think it's... I can't remember what war era it is. I think it might be Vietnam. I can't remember. They do Halo jumps anyway. So it was like a wartime era James Bond epic. And that's how they spun it. And since then, a lot of... It was Vietnam War. Thanks, Frank. So a lot of the other stuff that was kind of like produced from that point on almost ended up following suit. And now leaning into it, if you know that it's going to happen, as long as you do it well, it really works. Because I loved Metal Gear Solid 3 for a multitude of reasons. But that's an example of a game where excessive cutscenes, I think, are actually okay. There are other games where it makes me feel like you're simply not getting your value for money, because essentially you've just bought a film. You haven't bought a game, you've just bought a film.
Which is actually a really good way of talking about
Final Fantasy again?
Well, no, about video games as well. And obviously there's been a bunch of other ones that come up in chat, so things like the Uncharted games, Kingdom Hearts, which I think
Kingdom Hearts, man.
So the Kingdom Hearts franchise, I think, is probably erring on slightly too much cutscene side of...
By the way, you're welcome, Nuntingale. We'll keep these questions coming in, by the way, chat, because we're more than happy to answer them if we can.
Yeah, and so what this kind of like leads into is video games as art, and whether or not games which are effectively visual stories are games. Games which are simply you make like visual novels are one particular genre. You've got ones where you've got a little bit of choice that then drives what's effectively a film forward and things. And so like there are times when the lines very definitely get blurred between what it is you are playing stroke watching. But again, provided things are very clear, and this is why I said Telltale games are often a very different beast, because generally speaking, the Telltale games I think verge slightly towards more like the visual novel style of things.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I totally agree.
You make a few decisions. I had not moved my mouse for a while. You make a few decisions. You drive the narrative forward in that respect. And I still think like these are still games, sir. They're just operating on a slightly different axis to games that folks who are very set on gaming purity would consider games.
Oh God!
Oh no! What happened?
I like no.
What?
I like.
Oh right.
I like cetaceans. Thank you very much
Yes!
for the 69 bits.
Okay, you were playing with us there, Mike.
Yes, I did it! I did it! Oh my lord! Oh, chat, isn't this wonderful? Oh, what a time!
I'd reach out and shake your hand.
Oh yeah, sorry. No, here we go. Just
other hand, Mike.
Oh, me. Yeah, here we go.
Yeah.
Go. There. Oh, thank you, Anil. I appreciate it a lot. Oh, and Anil, thank you for the 100 bits. Thank you, Molietsu, for the 69 bits. Nice. Anyway, sorry, Anil, you were making a point.
Was I making a point?
You were.
Probably rambling.
Well, actually, if you think so, there's a question here for you, I think,
Yes.
more than me,
Okay,
because I'm a
sure.
WoW player, but you have more experience. So, Lady Erin asks, what do you think about World of Warcraft's or WoW's use of cinematic for He War campaign? Which I think means, what do you think about the WoW cinematics for the war campaigns? Yeah. I mean, do you have thoughts?
I do have thoughts. I like Cetacean's Horde. All but one of the characters I play is Horde.
100%.
When my friends got me into WoW, I started Alliance. I have a Night Elf Priest that I played as my very first character, but I very quickly, after the first 6 months, I fell out with I didn't really enjoy the game. And didn't pick it up again until Burning Crusade came out. At which point I started a Horde Shaman, a Tauren Shaman. But going back to the question about cinematic for the war campaign, I freaking love them. Like, I think Blizzard have knocked it out of the park for the cinematics that they have done for the war campaign. Where I have a slight issue is the fact that they've used two different types of cinematic. GI for a bunch of the smaller, like, between mission things, and then full
like the epics.
For the epic stories, that bits and pieces they have done, like full capture, full rendering for it. And I have to say, in Battle for Azeroth, the war campaign one, both of them, with a few slight issues, have just really been great. And actually, if you are, I think in previous ones they have some of them have been a bit hit or miss, like in expansions. But I mean, going back to which is Wrath of the Lich King, the cinematic that closed out that expansion with the battle at the Wrathgate, I think highlights the start of Blizzard's like investment and devotion to being able to produce these really good story cinematics.
Yeah.
And yeah, that is something like when they put the effort, they really go all out, and I fully applaud them for it. There are plenty of axes to criticize Blizzard on. There are plenty of axes to criticize them on Warcraft.
Oh, you cut out there, mate.
Sorry, I just repeat. There are plenty of axes to criticize Blizzard about decisions that they have made for World of Warcraft, but their devotion to the cinematics, I don't think is one of them. I fully applaud them for it, and I really like the way that they've handled things, particularly like Anduin's like the crisis of faith that Anduin has had. Storyline issues about Sylvanas aside, the cinematic, the old hero cinematic, where, and spoilers here obviously, where Sylvanas faces Saurfang in front of the gates of Orgrimmar, is near perfect. Like, just the emotions that are stirred in that cinematic. If you are a Warcraft fan and a follower of the storyline, is like that was powerful. That really was powerful.
Agreed.
But yes, obviously, I will be showcasing World of Warcraft as an intro to MMOs later on in RQ streams, and I will probably talk more about those there. And people are free to ask me questions about that. But we should probably move on with other.
Yeah, there's some questions here. There's some questions here from Gail again and Sixter. So Gail asked, another question for you guys, possibly dialogue trees. At what point do dialogue cuts help the game? And at which point do they become tedious / remove you from the gameplay? And Sixter added to that saying, thoughts on choice-based gameplay, like Dragon Age or Witcher, where certain choices affect the outcome of the game.
Do you want to take this first?
Can do. I love it. I'm going to be honest with you. I love choice-based narratives, like especially when you can make dialogue choices in the game that then have an impact, or more so, one thing I do love that Mass Effect got really right is when you make choices in the previous game that then affect the next game and the next game after that. I love it. I think it's fantastic. But then again, I'm a fan of having choice. Like, I love choice in games. I often don't like being railroaded by games. And railroaded means where it's like you are being put on a railroad. There is a linear thing that you have to do. You cannot divert from that. You literally just have to follow the rails. I much prefer it when you get that air that you can impact the game, and you can do cool things that might change your experience. Because for me, it makes the game more unique and personal, because I know that my choices might be different to Anil's choices, for example. So we'll both play through the same game, but Anil might get a different ending to me, and then we talk about it. And then that's what builds a community, is you start talking about the endings that you got, about the things that you did, the stuff that you found, like all of this stuff. It doesn't just impact the game, it impacts everything around the game as well, because it becomes a very central focus. Yeah. In terms of choice-based stuff and in terms of narrative trees, like, I think that there's a limit, though. You can't just give someone unlimited choice, because eventually you'll run into the D&D GM's nightmare, which is that someone just runs off with the story in totally the wrong direction.
Well, like, you might as well be playing an RPG.
Yeah, I mean, and to be honest with you, Skyrim do it very well. There's a main quest line that you can follow, there's also a load of other stuff that you can do, and you can choose what you follow, but you always know in the back of your mind that the main storyline is there, and you can return to it whenever you want to, and when you're ready to, whether that's through leveling, in which case difficulty curves, so the leveling, your level impacts the level of the enemies that you will face in the campaign, or alternatively, if you just want to go and explore and just have a good time, like in The Witcher, or in Mass Effect Andromeda, well, to an extent, or like in, World of Warcraft, or whatever it is that you're playing, having that level of choice, for me, is actually really important in a game, because I don't like to feel like, okay, I'm following this story, and I have to follow this story, I can do nothing about it, I have to just do this thing. Because I'm an RPG gamer and a completionist, and I want to find all the secrets. So that's where I sit. That's where I sit.
And that's fair. Like, so slightly tangentially, it's a case of what point of dialogue cuts help the game. Like, if they are appropriate, if it is the game that you are playing, because obviously plenty of games are single storyline, and you are running that story in order to find out what the end is. So where that is the case of where you are aware that the game is just a single storyline that you are running through, like, fine, like I will get to the end of the story, and whether or not I like the storyline or such depends on the actions that you have to take through it. The one to draw back, like, obviously the one I will criticize here is the first Watch Dogs game, because
we got there already.
Well, I say already, but because
it's a valid point. I'm not dissing you. It's a valid point.
The storyline in that it is a single storyline. You don't have any choice about it. Is mixed messages at best. A terrible storyline because none of the action makes sense. You are forced to do actions that make very little sense for the outcome of the game.
Or anything.
Yeah. So, as to when they become tedious or remove you from gameplay, if they are excessive. And obviously that is going to vary by game.
Or if it's Watch Dogs 1.
I think a lot of the Mass Effect style games actually have a relatively one that I will be looking at here, and which will probably be good for this question, is Fallout 4. Because I think that is a particularly good example of dialogue trees and where they are used effectively. The problem I have with this style of choice-based game is when you are presented with choices that are not real choices.
That's the point I was going to make. Yeah, I oh my god, no, that absolutely winds me up.
Yes,
honestly.
And so going in for coming on this from Stix's point, it's where the choices you make have an appropriate outcome on the game. Cool. Yes, you can point to say, like, I made this decision, the outcome, for good or ill, because obviously, willingly and knowingly are two very different things. You may make a choice that you did not know what the consequences were, and there may be unfortunate consequences from it. Where those choices do not matter, or where you actually end up at the same point, regardless of the choices you're making, that is where I have a problem. If those choices do lead you to a win state that does not feel like a win state, and the game I am very much criticizing here is Far Cry 4.
You went Far Cry. Oh, interesting. Okay.
Oh, do you have a different one?
Mass Effect 3, the ending. It was
really?
It was awful. It was awful.
Far Cry 4, again, I mean, obviously if you're here, you know this, like, there are spoilers here because we can't really talk about games without spoilers. The ending of Far Cry 4, regardless of which option you take, because there are two primary paths that your hero has to follow, one or the other. You are faced with difficult choices. That's not a problem. being given a difficult choice is often a fundamental part of a hero's journey. That you often have to make sacrifices in order to win. The problem at the end of Far Cry 4, regardless of which path you take, neither of them feel like you have spent the effort that you have gone through to liberate this country has had any effect. You are basically putting them in both of the endings effectively put you on very little different a footing to the start of the game. In fact, the very best thing you can do in Far Cry 4 is wait the 15 minutes at the start of the game to give you the option to leave and take it.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Just wait for him to finish the phone call.
Wait for him to finish the phone call, come back, and offer you a helicopter out. The best way of playing that game
is to not play Far Cry 4, says Definite Human Jess. So just because we've only got a couple of minutes left before you have to dash, we've got one last question from Malevolent Mango. Question for you guys: Which do you think is best? The best game for story? Sorry, there's a couple of typos in here, and I'm struggling. Question for you guys: Which do you think is the best game for the story it tells, and what's the best game to actually play mechanics-wise? What type do you prefer to play?
That is
a very expansive question. So I think
that's a very expansive question for the time that we have.
Well, let's just do top 3 games that you think are the best games for the story that it tells. Like maybe top 5 if you're feeling generous.
Do you want to start? I'll have
All right, I'll do one.
Mm.
Metal Gear Solid 3.
Okay.
I'm just going to say it. No, MGS 3.
Games for the story they tell.
Do another one.
Yeah.
Undertale.
I'm just trying to think because a lot of the games that I play. Oh yes, Undertale.
100%.
Yes. Yeah. And Undertale, the mechanics really definitely underpin that gameplay and the story that it is trying to tell. Like it is so novel.
Yeah, mate.
On that front. Night in the Woods. I think Fear 1996 brought this up. I think that is a very good game where the mechanics tie into the game, into the story that it is telling.
Yeah, I haven't played that.
And it is a very good story.
I got another one.
Yeah.
Firewatch.
Oh, yes.
Loved Firewatch and Soma as well for the same but opposite reasons, because of the atmosphere that they are beautiful in such different ways, but they are beautiful, honestly.
Oh yes, Stixer 11 has another. Stanley Parable.
The Stanley Parable, fair.
The Stanley Parable is definitely one we. Because
you totally cut out there, mate.
Sorry, the Stanley Parable is definitely one we are going to be on stream because it is a very good style of game for introductory purposes. I'm going to have a think about other games, particularly ones that I have played, because a lot of the ones that I've played strategy or long-running RPGs where the storyline is a bit it wavers.
Wolfenstein.
Oh
my goodness. For a blood, guts and gore shooter, the story is so compelling and heart-wrenching through all of them. The New Colossus, the New Order, all of them, honestly. The storyline is so driving. I love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Both Portal games, yes.
Yes, Portal. Yeah, Portal. Fair shout.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I'll go back and have a think because I need my catalog and just check, remember what I've actually played that was primarily narrative driven.
That's valid, man. Right, so it looks like we're out of time, unfortunately.
Yes.
Thank you very much, 14 Cookies Gone, for the 69 bits. Nice. It was great to have you all here. I hope you've enjoyed this Sandbox Sunday, where me and Anil have been chatting about some of our favorite games designs, and mechanics. You can probably start to get an appreciation for our differences in opinion now. This is why I think we work so well together, because we just like different styles of games. If you do have any more questions for us, you can tweet him at
Goody Gumdrop.
You can tweet me at Mikey_Scamp. Thank you very much for the 420 bits, Molietsu. That's really kind of you. And yeah, we'll probably do some more of these in the coming days, right, mate?
Yeah, almost certainly, given that we can't actually sit next.
He's gone. He's gone, chat.
Yes, okay. What was my plaintive cry of, yes, we will almost certainly do these because I cannot sit next to you.
Mate,
you cannot be here.
touch. I can't be here. Touch. Oh, Anil.
Hang on.
There.
Move my hand back.
Back a bit. That there.
Yeah.
We did it. Oh.
Sorry, I'm trying to match this up against the Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, we're gonna. Sorry. Yeah. You go.
Yeah, we're probably going to end this here. We'll probably have to look for a different solution because of the sound issues that we were experiencing. But in terms of what's coming up next, reason I have to dash off is because I'm 5 minutes or so. You can catch me over at www.twitch.tv/hint_plays, where I will be playing Loic, a mild-mannered merchant in a game of The Witcher TRPG, with Druttercup acting as GM there. You can, on this channel later tonight, I think it is 10 p.m. We will be hosting, if I remember to set up the host correctly. Helen is taking part in a panel on as part of Virtual HorrorCon for what she is doing. She's doing modernizing Call of Cthulhu, or modernizing Cthulhu as a genre, basically looking at Lovecraft legacy on that front. 8 p.m. Johnny is doing a Bloodborne stream, the next one of that.
Yep.
Reminder to folks, Johnny and Sasha's streams are not part of the RQ Streams banner. If they ever were to be, any stream which is coming under our banner will be labeled streams, but we just want to make it very clear that as connected as they are, those streams are not part of us. So.
I'm afraid so. We did ask them, by the way. We did ask them, but they chose to do this for personal reasons, and that's absolutely fine. We totally respect
They have their own development plans. And then at 1 a.m. BST, Mike will be back. I think I will probably be asleep, alas, so you will have to set up the host for this channel. Is back with a look at actual plays, podcasting, and streaming for a modern audience.
Yes, how to stream podcasting and how to stream tabletop RPGs. So I'm going to be chatting with some very interesting people about that. And that's at 1 a.m. GMT, technically tomorrow, if not this evening. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much, Mike. It was lovely chatting with you.
Thanks, mate. It's always lovely talking with you.
Yes.
I love hanging out with you.
I know. Yes, I miss it. Anyway.
Right. And thank you so much to all of you guys, of course, for joining us today.
Yes, thank you very much for joining us. The usual support options are available. Supporting us on Patreon, www.patreon.com/Rusty Quill. Supporting us here on Twitch, like so many of you have done. That's amazing.
You get a lot of cool shit for subscribing on Patreon, by the way, so definitely check that out.
And there will be cool stuff coming. Emotes and such getting commissioned for this. So expect those at some point soon, hopefully.
At some point, relatively soon, anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, we are expediting matters. Yes,
we are.
So,
all right, then, guys.
I need to run. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I've been Mike.
I've been Anil.
And this has been RQ Streams. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. And we will see you. Well, Anil will see you on Wednesday. I will see you later tonight.
I will see you. Well, yes, actually, well, I will see some of you in 25. Those of you who tonight, 5 p.m. BST, where we are doing the third part of West of Loathing. Take care. Bye.
See you soon, guys. Bye.